Welcome back, my tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. It is me. Hope y'all had a nice New Year's and a good Christmas. I would apologize for not uploading in 3 weeks, but then again, you should probably be used to it at this point, since I take about as much breaks as queso on a treadmill. Today I'm going to be debunking some of the stupidest 9/11 conspiracy theories I've ever seen. After seeing some of these theories, I understand now that I do not have the patience to be a special ed teacher. I'm going to be looking at a few, not all of them, because if I went over every single conspiracy theory about 9/11, this entire video would be longer than the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. To be honest, you'd have a better chance at finding a pregnant man than winning a debate against a truther. And because you always be wrong in their books, they fight with emotion and not fact. Anything you say that isn't fair in their light to push their stupid ass agenda would just be essentially useless. Anyway, before we start, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Where do I start? So if you don't understand what Building 7 is, the World Trade Center wasn't only just the two big boys you done seen before the terrorist attacks. It was rather an entire complex. Here's a map right here. First, let's get it straight. The Twin Towers were really big, about the size of one Twin Tower each. Now when they fell on September 11th, what do you think happened? Guess. Really guess. Oh yeah, they were destroyed, among damaging other buildings very critically. Now where do you think Building 7 is? Did you remember the map I showed you? Right where the goddamn debris zone is. It was bound to fall when two of the world's tallest buildings at the time fell right on top of it. Yeah, it doesn't exactly take Scooby-Doo to figure out if two buildings both being 110 stories each were to fall next to a much smaller building, that building would probably also be destroyed. Seriously, use your heads. Not to mention, there is literally no evidence to back up the claim that Building 7 was a controlled demolition, so next theory. I'm going to keep this one pretty short since it's so easy to debunk. Yes, jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams in the way one might think. It rather weakens them to the point they will collapse. Yeah, stuff at 1500 degrees, on fire, with the plane just being impaled straight into them, it probably won't hold very well. Not to mention, it was a whopping 3600 degrees Fahrenheit when the planes crashed into them. Yeah, that moment of impact was pretty hot, guys. Steel has a melting point of around 2500 degrees Fahrenheit. However, like I said earlier, it weakens them. When something is weakened to that extent, especially when the damn North Tower was on fire for 1 hour and 42 minutes, and the South Tower on fire for 56 minutes, yeah, it's gonna fall, guys. Fire's hot, especially ignited jet fuel, which will weaken the foundation. Debunked. Light work. Next theory. If you talking shit, you better Not only is this theory stupid as hell for several reasons, but it's also extremely disrespectful. These idiot truthers seem to forget people lost their lives on this day. I mean, you're disregarding the deaths of these poor people who sadly lost their lives. Kids died in this. Kids died on that plane that hit the Pentagon. Yet you disregard it just for some bullshit ideology you searched up because you quote-unquote don't trust the government, or quote-unquote aren't a sheep. Your opinion is wrong and you're a dumbass if you think that the Pentagon was hit by a missile. Second up on why this theory is so dumb, this theory has so many holes in it. It basically is saying that American Airlines Flight 77 never existed, and the 125 passengers that died on it never existed either. Not to mention, what about the people who literally saw the damn plane fly into the Pentagon? What about all the wreckage that scattered the surrounding area? What about the fact that there's literal footage of said plane flying into the Pentagon? Here's a video of the terrorists in the Dulles International Airport before the hijacking of American Airlines Flight 77. Here's a picture of American Airlines Flight 77 before it hit the Pentagon. The most natural truther response would be, how could the most secure building on the entire planet have only this recording? Well, simple. It was 2001. 24 years ago. They aren't going to be having 8K camera footage of this one area of the Pentagon where nothing is suspected to happen. Which brings me to my second point. Why would an area where said nothing is suspected to happen have a camera pointed at a completely random side of the building? 9/11 was deadly for many reasons. Not only did they hit a bunch of important places, but because they suspected literally nothing was going to happen that day. It completely caught them off guard. The interior of the Pentagon would most definitely be loaded with cameras, but not a random area outside. It's an exception if it was an entrance/exit point, which it was not. So there was no reason to put a camera there in the random part. This also doesn't make sense because if it was a missile, there would be way more, and I mean way more evidence supporting this claim, more recordings, tons more eyewitness accounts, etc. Which there is not. Let me ask one thing, what do you think threw the missile at the Pentagon? An F-15? Yeah, literally everyone would see an F-15 bomb the Pentagon. This theory is retarded and I just debunked it. Next theory. So on this one, it's a whole cluster truck of theories, so we're gonna speedrun them. 1. In 1993 was shot down. This theory suggests that United 93 was shot by US military jets. This is simply untrue as there is no evidence to suffice it. There is no proof of missile damage and there is no blast pattern to pinpoint, making this theory impossible. 2. They faked a crash site. This theory tells us that the brave souls on board United 93 did jack shit to stop the terrorists, and that the crash site was faked. This is not only untrue, but extremely disrespectful. This entire cluster truck of theories is disrespectful because you're basically saying the innocent civilians on board who are heroes did nothing to stop the terrorists, which is not true at all. Second off, the plane hit the ground near completely vertically, at nearly 600 miles per hour. It was so powerful that it caused a 15-foot deep crater. The kinetic energy at this point was so powerful it caused the plane to disintegrate. However, there are still parts of the plane that was found, like the landing gear, engine, etc. Not only that, but eyewitnesses saw the plane crash into the ground. The passenger's heroism is fabricated. This is also extremely untrue and hella disrespectful. The proof is there is literal audio footage of the passengers breaching the cockpit door and fighting off the hijackers. Not only that, but there are passenger phone calls, including Todd Beamer, Mark Bingham, etc. Stupid theory, debunked, next theory. This theory always interests me because you trust the government that little to the point where you think that its own president would work with the same people they've been in conflict with for years at this point. I mean, it is no secret that Bush wanted to finish what his Papa Bush started, to take out Saddam Hussein. There are so many holes in this theory that it's actually funny that people still find this true. Now listen, it is completely normal to be distrustful of the government, and I actually think you should be in certain areas. But to the point of making a theory that has first off no plausible proof other than being based from emotion and not fact is where I think doesn't have grounds to be considered a good argument, hence why it's called a conspiracy theory.
Sorry, retarded.
Oh, that's okay then.
You don't know any better.
Oh, bless your heart.
Jeez, didn't you hear me a second ago? I'm retarded.
Oh, you're just curious.
First off on why this theory is wrong, do you know how long it would take to plan a large-scale terrorist attack on this level? This attack was the biggest terrorist attack in history. It would take years, perhaps even decades to create a plan this elaborate, not to mention it did. Also, the possibility of whistleblowers, the fact this plan could be leaked, it's all a risk. Now let me ask this, why would the United States team with a terrorist group that has caused them so many issues in the past? This is basically like Japan bombing Pearl Harbor, but the United States in response teams with them. It makes no sense. Al-Qaeda has been a pain in the ass to the United States since as early as the 90s. For instance, the 1993 World Trade Center bombing was from an Al-Qaeda operative, the 1998 US Embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania killing over 200 people, or the suicide bombing of the USS Cole which took place in 2000. After hearing all this, it's so illogical and stupid to think the US would team with the same people that has caused all that destruction. It's absolutely Looney Tunes. Lastly, on why this theory makes no sense other than what I just said, truthers say that Bush used 9/11 to justify invading Iraq in 2003. Now, to some extent that is true. What isn't true is that this means that Bush administration orchestrated the attacks. Whoever aligned that with this, I can kind of understand where you're coming from, but it's still stupid if you logically think about it. Oh wait, you're conspiracy theorists. I forgot you don't do that. The invasion of Iraq was because of a variety of reasons. One, like I said earlier, because George W. Bush wanted to finish what his father, the 41st President of the United States, George H.W. Bush, started during the first Gulf War in 1990, to overthrow Saddam Hussein's regime. And two, because Iraq was alleged to have weapons of mass destruction, and the US government believed Saddam was a threat to national security, which isn't illogical or stupid to think, since Iraq was openly hostile to the United States for years, especially during the Gulf War. This is the problem with conspiracy theories like these. They lack substantial evidence and do not make sense. All it takes is to do your research, but then again that's too hard because people believe what they want to believe, even if it is not factually correct. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to be covering every single 9/11 theory, only the really most popular ones. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Peace out everybody. Have a good day.